TIFU. Drove a bit distracted. Something horrible happened. Now I have PTSD. So here's my today I fucked up, except, as always, this wasn't today. It was a month ago. But it haunts my dreams to this day. I'm driving down a residential road. Not going fast. Probably the speed limit or maybe even a bit less. But not going extra slow. Not paying super attention but not texting or anything stupid. Just driving normally. Or what used to be my normal driving. So yeah, 100% my fault for not having my head in the game like it was life and death. Which is always is. Driving is no joke. It's literally life and death every single time you get behind the wheel. I'm in Alberta, Canada. Land of oil and trucks. Monster trucks. The kind where soccer moms have to use a step ladder to get in and drive the kid to practice. And of course it's the time of year when all the gigantic motorhomes are just coming out of hibernation. They line every streets in every direction. So I'm driving along and I see a ball bounce out from between a couple monster trucks and roll across the road. My stupid head turns to the right, more or less all on its own, to follow the bouncing ball. Then my semi-functional brain wakes up and says, "Hey stupid. Got a riddle for ya. What follows a bouncing ball out from between two parked trucks? Know how they say sometimes during an emergency time slows down? Well, I've never experienced that before, but it happened. And it's real. If it ever happens to you, it's beyond a surreal experience. And it's horrifying. What they don't tell you is that everything goes crystal clear. Like an 8K demo reel you see on an 80 inches at Best Buy. And it gets recorded forever deep in your brain. If one was there, you could see a butterfly hanging in mid-flight slowly flapping its wings. Sound, however, comes to a complete stop. And you are frozen. Because time stops for everything, your body included but not for your mind. As an example, I could barely move my eyes but I had time to yell at my eyes to hurry up. There, in the lower left corner of my vision, inches above my grill, I saw a ponytail bouncing up and down in slow motion. FMLI was about to run over a teeny tiny little girl. And not the slightest thing I could do about it. My ginormous head wouldn't turn. My feet were made of lead and nothing in this universe could move them to the brakes fast enough. I was entirely frozen inside my body as my brain was screaming and screaming and screaming. But even my big fat mouth couldn't open to let the scream out. Worst moment of my life. And, suddenly, I could hear a bit of a deep, bleep bleep bleep, like a slow motion alarm going off. The brakes engaged at twice the speed of light. All on their own. In my frozen state with a hyper-accelerated brain, it still took me what felt like 5 minutes to figure out what was happening. A few days earlier I had gone into the menu and changed the FCA, Forward Collision Assist, from Warn to Active Assist. So I had emergency autonomous braking enabled. Thank F.C. King. God. The whole incident took only a few seconds in real time but it felt like forever. As the car screeched to a dead stop, time returned to normal and the bleeping sound became a high-pitched rapid beep beep beep. Then silence again. A tiny little pair of eyes turned and looked at me over the grill of the car. Less than an inch from being squashed by tons of metal. A distracted mom, on her cell phone and with a baby on her hip, called her kid back to her yard. I weakly waved, and drove home. Where I curled up in bed and had the shakes so bad. I don't know if I passed out or went to sleep or what. But hours later I woke up with the sweats. I will never, ever, ever get behind the wheel of a car without emergency braking again as long as I live. I love my Hyundai Santa Fe, or any car with forward collision avoidance. Thank Christ for the guy who invented this feature. Even typing this, I relive the experience and have the sweats. I have some serious PTSD over this incident. Anything can trigger it but usually it's kids laughing or playgrounds or balls or balloons. When it hits, it's like I'm right back in the event. It f-c-k-i-n sucks. But if I had squashed the kid it would be a million times worse I'm sure. Moms, watch your kids. Drivers? Slow the f-c-k down. Yeah you. I'm talking to you. No. Slower than that. And if you see a guy crawling along through a school zone below the speed limit looking all sketchy in every direction? Yeah that's me. And now you know why. Too long did not read. Almost ran over a kid. Car has emergency braking and stopped on its own. I have PTSD. First of all, I'm glad that it wasn't worse. Second of all, I urge you to get to a therapist and a psychiatrist if you're serious about laughing children or round objects triggering anxiety or panic attacks. The therapist is going to help you long term. The psychiatrist is going to be able to prescribe you something so that you're able to function close to normally in the meantime. The sooner you can get to these professionals, the better off you will be. Best of luck, Op. Valuable lesson for all drivers. Thanks for sharing your experience. This is the weirdest ad ever. This is a nice commercial for Hyundai. I hate big trucks, and one of those reasons is how much it blocks your view of seeing children, people on bikes, whatever. These things are death traps for pedestrians. I'll never understand how car companies aren't required to design safer cars for pedestrians as well. I'm very glad to hear your braking system worked. In driver's ed, my instructor said something that profoundly affected how I drove in residential areas. He said, "Where there's a ball, there's a boy. Anytime I see a ball, even if the kids have it on the grass, I slow down to rolling. The thought of hitting someone's kid makes me cry. I am so glad that you didn't hit her, and I'm really sorry that you have PTSD. I hope you can move past it. People freeze all the time in emergencies, and you couldn't have predicted that. Today I fucked up by thinking I could survive redneck hot sauce. Do not fuck with Cabela's hot sauce. Hello there, esteemed residents of TIFU. I originally posted this on another sub but was advised it would fit here, so here goes. Another quick note. This did not in fact happen today, but I am still feeling the pain of the past in present time, so I think it counts. A month ago I got a $50 Cabela's gift card, a graduation present from an uncle that I accompany on hunting trips. To those who aren't familiar with the store, it's basically an outdoor gear and clothing shop, perfect for anyone looking to do anything in the woods or at sea. Now, only 5 days ago, I drove all the way up to the mall so I could spend it. After grabbing some new limbs for my old recurve and a backwoods blahage, 4-foot-long largemouth bass plush, I spotted the display. Now a while ago on this very sub I saw a post stating that there was nothing quite like redneck hot sauce, and being a big fan of the more extreme stuff I was compelled to take a look. They did not disappoint. Ahead of me was a wide variety boasting sauces from mildly flavorful to pure capsaicin, so many options to choose from. Having become bored with ghost pepper, I decided that the next best step was a Scorpion Carolina Reaper combo. The bottle was labeled Extreme Regret, with a flaming skull pictured on the logo. Little did I know this was quite the foreshadowing. It seemed perfect, so I snagged one and drove down the misty Maine Turnpike, headed home. The first time I tested the hot sauce, it was 3 days ago on a roast beef sandwich I made myself for lunch. Being the hot sauce freak that I am, and a daring one at that, I put a healthy splash on, about a tablespoon's worth. Holding the sandwich inches away from my face, I gave up all doubt and dove in, taking a crunchy bite. The sauce tasted smoky at first, then disappointing as it turned out to have the same bitter carrot flavor or as other spicier hot sauces. Whilst the taste of it was quite bad, the heat was amazing, hotter than a raw fresh ghost pepper, enough to bring me to tears and scorch my whole mouth. The blaze lasted about 10 minutes after the food was eaten, a little longer than it took me to clean up after myself. Now you may find yourself asking, what? That's it? I thought he would get obliterated by the hot sauce, scream while smoke spews from his ears, and we would all have a good laugh. Worry not, dear friends, for I am a fool who will feel the wrath of my actions soon enough. Bear with me. Minutes after a masochistic meal, I felt my stomach screaming at me. It sounded a little like, "Ay bozo. What in da fresh hell is dis?" I hate it, and I started to worry. Time passes, as it always does, and I can feel that my whole digestive tract is lit ablaze. Every organ from my esophagus to my intestines was squirming in discomfort as they received food laced with an extremely unpleasant surprise. I went to bed feeling unwell, and it only got worse from there. 3 a.m. I awaken. The house is dead quiet. My sisters sleep, the dog slumbers. Even the familiar mechanical hum of the house seems to have been hushed for this moment. I really have to shit. Creeping out of my abode, I swiftly silently slither into the bathroom, ready for a peaceful bowel movement in the wee hours of the morning. Nestled gently on my throne of polished porcelain, everything was going as per usual, then boom. Out of nowhere I got hit with the full force of the Extreme Regret sauce, living up to its name as it hit my asshole with even more of a ferocious inferno than it had unleashed upon my mouth. Somehow it had practiced beating up my digestive tract, and undergone character development before taking on the final boss. The experience was as if Satan's sizzling sordid semen was spraying out of my sphincter, and the sheer heat was enough to leave scorch marks on both cheeks afterwards. Words cannot convey the way this poisonous burning fecal matter slapped around my nerve endings, nor should they be used to describe it any further. I spent at least an hour in the bathroom, and was nearly sobbing by the time the experience was over. Never again will I mess with redneck hot sauce, not anything like this. I regret being born. That's not even the worst part. Over the past few days, it has happened again and again, every time I poop. It's not as bad as the first, but still hellishly awful. Either the nervous system installed in my anus has given up, or my stomach has run out of ammunition to throw at it. I am a fool and am suffering as I should. Pray for me, internet strangers, for I cannot take it much longer. In case I don't make it, heed my warning. Do not mess with Cabela's hot sauce, it will fuck you harder than you can imagine. Too long did not read. Extreme regret on a hot sauce bottle does not refer to how spicy the actual sauce is. It instead warns how completely it will broil your asshole. You can get aftermarket handles installed on the side of your toilet bowl for experiences like this. It may help in the future. Satan's sizzling sordid semen was spraying out of my sphincter, and #X200B. Beautifully written. Best part, cost him $75 in gas to go spend $50. So well written. You made me laugh. Take my free award. You must be talking about Elijah's Extreme Regret sauce. If you really want to feel the burn, Elijah's has an Extreme Regret Reserve sauce, that is 200K higher on Scoville rating. The taste senses that pick up capsaicin in your mouth are also in your asshole, so if it's spicy going in, it'll be spicy going out. Today I fucked up by having a breakdown at work. So I, 20F, was in a car accident 2 days ago. I won't go into detail of how it happened, but my driver's side door and the door behind the driver's seat are caved in, to the point where they won't open. Airbags were deployed and the car won't turn on. Basically my car is totaled. This is the first accident I've ever had where I was in the driver's seat. Because of this I've been constantly, involuntary, replaying the incident in my head. What if I had done different? What if my friends were hurt? Why didn't she try to slow down? It's been on repeat in my head since the impact. Well, I took Monday off to make sure I answered calls from insurance companies, law agencies, etc., and thought I was well enough to return to work today. Boy, was I wrong. I forgot how agitated my job makes me. Along with how rude one of my coworkers spoke. Today, that one coworker spoke to me in the rudest tone she ever has, so my brain decided, oh, you're already upset. Well, here's the accident of repeat. I head to the restroom to cry my eyes out. At this point I've been sobbing for a good 10 minutes before I'm told to hurry up by the janitor. So I try my best to pull myself together and head out. However, I'm still breathing heavily as if I'm out of breath and shaking. A trainer sees me and taking me to what we call the training room, to discuss what happened with a supposed HR member. About 20–45 minutes go by. I've managed to get my breath steady, but I'm still crying, flinching from the imagery of being hit, and trying to honk a horn that's not there. In the midst of this, the HR member comes to me. Hour. You're op, right? Me. Nods. Hour. And you took a drug test about a week ago, right? Me. Huh? I'm confused because I took this drug test almost a month ago. Another member who was in the office says the date and I confirm it. Hour. Well, that drug test came back positive for marijuana, so, unfortunately, we're gonna have to let you go. I sign a paper that explains that I've been terminated, hand in my badge, collect my things, and now I'm at home typing this. I've had a stern talk with my dad about how I'm tired of life and just want to end it all again, but he's never been one to offer support in the way I needed at that moment. I'll be looking into therapy, which I also told the trainer that I needed. Just to help me try to get my emotions under control and for the PTSD of the crash, since I tense up at the thought of driving or even being in a car. I'll also be looking for remote from home jobs as I will be without a car or income for the next 2 weeks to however long. TLR. Car crash leaves me with PTSD, so job uses a month of drug test to fire me after a breakdown. Edit. Thank you all for the love and support. I know it's only been about a day, but a lot of your comments are helping me that I'm not alone and I'll be alright. Some said the company may have already be looking for a reason to fire. And after thinking for a bit, you may be right. This isn't my first breakdown at work, it's actually my second. Around April I found out that 2 of my great uncles died a week apart, And I was told by a cousin while I was in the middle of a shift. You may be thinking, oh well, they were already old so their time was coming, but that doesn't change the fact that they died. I even lost my stepmom in November 2021 and my favorite grandpa in December 2021. So I was already having a hard time. I've always cared, loved, and been very close to my family since I was young. We're always there when we need it. Every family gathering, every birthday, every holiday, all of my family, for the most part, we're always in attendance. For that I only missed 2 days of work, and after a lot of talking with family and reassurance, I was back as if it never happened. Now, when it comes to the drug test, no, you aren't missing anything. Yes, I smoke at times. Mainly if I'm still up after 11-12 and I have something important to do in a few hours. Sometimes when I just want to mellow out. But it's not like I'm smoking every day. And yes, I get it, no matter what I smoked for, I did it, and I just so happened to get hurt at work the next day. So I had to be drug tested. But that doesn't change the fact that they may have had the results back for a while. There were already rumors of the company holding drug tests, until an incident occurred where they wanted to fire you. A few employees from my department were sent in for drug test, who were known for partaking in and selling the devil's lettuce, and were fired less than a week after their drug test. And there are others throughout the company who have had drug tests, again who are known for partaking in and selling it, who were fired months after their original drug test. But I'm not blaming the company at all. If it came back positive, then yay, I should have been fired. I just feel it's kinda shitty that they waited till I was already down. As some of you said, insurance will deal with car and I will be fine. I'm glad that seeking help is something we can agree on, because this isn't the first time I suffer with the constant physical sensation of a traumatic event. But it's the first time in over a decade. Again, thank you all for the love and support. I'm glad I'm not alone. I do not think this is a fuck-up, but your former job surely is a toxic environment, and I think you're better off. You'll find another job, don't worry. I hope you heal from that. Maybe some weed would help, of course. Therapy is much more needed. I hope you'll have the necessary tools to heal properly. How long were you at that job? Are you eligible for severance? There's a ton of remote jobs. Most that are customer service, and with customer service comes a lot of angry, mean callers. It sounds like mentally, you may not be ready for that. Is there any way to get a little loan, even from family, to cover you for at least a month? Because it sounds to me like you need serious therapy and healing. Jumping into another job right away may not be the best idea, unless you absolutely have to. If you can't do therapy, reading helps too. I've been through a lot. I know exactly what you're feeling, so if you need to talk, please message me. Best of luck to you. Just remember, things may be bad right now, but they always get better. Hugs. I'm glad you weren't hurt in the accident. I hope you find a new job soon. You're not alone. My youngest child totaled their car, then got canned for complaining a lot. It happens. I wish you a big win soon. Look into legal action too. I had a very similar thing happen to me in the early I took them to court and won a lot of money. Not trying to come across as an asshole here, but I think you're being a bit presumptuous to say you have PTSD, and b. that you being fired is because of you crying at work for a bit. You're having trauma from a recent experience, PTS. You don't have PTSD. Bottom line, you were fired because you did drugs. The car accident is a different subject. Today I fucked up by asking my friend when her brother was diagnosed with autism. So I, 27 female, was chatting with my friend T, 23F, over coffee today, and she mentioned her brother, 14 male. I've met her brother a few times. He's a nice kid but socially awkward. I work in disability services and her brother has a lot of autistic traits, his mannerisms, he avoids eye contact. He knows a lot about very niche subjects, and she's also mentioned how he hates change and needs to be told way in advance if plans change. So T started talking about her brother and how he is having trouble making friends at school. During the conversation I asked her when her brother was diagnosed with autism. It was kind of comical how the coffee she was about to drink stilled in front of her mouth and stared at me. She paused for a few moments before asking, "What do you mean?" It was my turn to be confused. I said, "Your brother has autism. Doesn't he?" She got really quiet and kind of reflective. I sat there nervously. After a while she replied, "I've never really thought about it. That's just how he's always been." The conversation slowed after that, and eventually we both left the cafe, but I'm confused where to go from here. It's part of my job description to notice these things. Should I have kept my mouth shut, or will this not end as badly as I think? Too long did not read. I asked my friend if her brother was autistic when he isn't. Not that much of a fuck up. Especially considering how many autistic people fall through the gaps at younger years for various reasons. Plus, the diagnosis can help him address issues and get further support, especially at university if he chooses to go. Sounds like the brother has never been evaluated. She seemed to be really considering what you said. I don't think you messed up here. I think you may have given her food for thought that she is now considering. Many people are diagnosed much later in life because someone else suggested the possibility. You may have just made that young man's life a whole lot better. As someone who grew up feeling as if I was weird and socially inept only to be diagnosed with autism at the age of 43. I had years of low self-esteem and self-worth. Once I was diagnosed, my life was so much better. If your girlfriend's family pursues a diagnosis, I can only see this as being a good thing. You probably just gave her a lot to think about. Just because someone isn't diagnosed, doesn't mean they aren't autistic. I'm going to go against the grain. I think you gave your friend a lot to think about, which is good. That said, you work in disability services, you don't say that you are trained to diagnose. Rather than assuming in the future, it might be better to say, have you considered X, rather than, when were they diagnosed? Still gives lots of room for them to think, but it doesn't assume anything. It also gives space for conversation. Have you considered X? No, why? I'm not a doctor, but I work with this a lot. Here's what I'm seeing. Gives them room to think and room to find a proper diagnosis if you're wrong. I asked my friend if her brother was autistic when he isn't. You didn't fuck up, and he likely is.